Alright guys, today we're taking a look at the Vive Pro 2. So, as you guys know, for those of you guys who follow me on this channel, you guys know that I had a Valve Index before, a headset on PCVR that I've been using for a while now. I do have a Quest 2 and stuff like that, but I love playing PCVR games on a native PCVR headset. So that was my choice for the last year, and I'm having a really great time with it. I kept seeing the Vive Pro 2 with the high resolution and stuff like that and better colors and contrast that people were talking about. The reviews weren't outstanding, but I did want to dive in and take a look, especially because I was thinking about it. I was like, all right, I could just get the headset. Of course, I already have the Index controllers. I already have the base stations. I can sell off my Index for about $400 to $500 to offset some of that cost. So I'm only going to pay somewhere between $300 to $400 for this headset. I wanted to see if it was worth it. I've been playing with it for the past 3 weeks and putting it through its paces, compare it to the Valve Index. So I want to tell you guys what I think compared, if it's worth it for those of you guys who have the Valve Index to get this, or those of you guys who don't have a headset on PCVR at all. So let's go ahead and dive into the video.
Gaming tech, eating brekkie is the gaming tech. Going for a brekkie is the gaming tech. Gaming techie is the gaming tech. Gaming techie.
Alright guys, so the first thing I want to talk about here is lenses in VR. Now you guys know I wear glasses obviously, and I wear contacts and stuff like that. On the Quest 2 that I've had before, I already have the VR Wave lenses, which I love because of their magnetic design. And here on this headset is no different. I used this headset for 2 weeks before I contacted VR Wave, and it was a miserable experience. I hate contacts and having to put them on every time I wanted to play VR. My eyes get dry really fast, and then when I wear contacts, I have to blink all the time in VR or else things get blurry. It's just not fun. And then, yes, obviously glasses fit in here just fine, but for those of you guys who have never tried, lenses like this in VR, it's a game-changing experience. If you guys wear glasses and contacts and stuff like that, I urge you guys to get lenses like VR Waves here, which is the one I recommend that I've been using on all my VR headsets before. And as soon as I got it on this HTC Vive Pro 2, it immediately made my experience so much better. I was able to see in VR without having any glasses or any contacts, which for me obviously is a crazy experience because I can't see without that stuff in real life. So being able to put that on in VR and kind of get the experience everyone else gets to have every day, but being able to see without having everything on is an awesome experience. So definitely something I urge everyone to check out. The link will be in the description if you guys want to check it out. You get 5% off on your order if you use my link, and you help me out a little bit on the channel as well. So looking at the box here, you can see it just came with the actual headset because that's all I needed. Because like I said, I already had the controllers from when I had the Valve Index. I had the base stations and the controllers already. Compared to the original Vive Pro that this came out from like 3 years ago, the head strap design is exactly the same as what that was. I do find the head strap to be pretty comfortable, easy to get on. It tightens from the back obviously, and then you have the strap on top to tighten it even more. No issues with the strap at all. I like the design, and I think it sits comfortably on my head. Then I also have it also has the headphones on the side. They are exactly the same as the Vive Pro as well, though obviously compared to the Index, it is not the same. The Index has the off ear, and this one is actually on your ear, and the audio is definitely not as good as what the Valve Index is. The Index actually has bass. This one seems to be missing some bass on these headphones. They're definitely not as good, but I think they're good enough where I'm not going to sit here and replace these headphones or wear other headphones on top of it. They're good enough. I just wish they were upgraded to be more like the Valve Index, but they didn't. As far as the adjustment goes for your IPD, it has all the same functions as the Vive Pro and the Vive did. You can adjust your IPD, and so you won't have any issues if you're within those parameters. And then, of course, it has the microphone the same as the Vive Pro, which is crazy that they're still using that same microphone. It is not that great. The thing that makes it a little bit better is you can see I add a little pop filter on the bottom so your P's don't pop all the time when you're using the microphone while I recorded. It's not that bad after you add the pop filter, but it's definitely not as good as the Index. The Index is definitely way superior. But it's not bad when you add the pop filter. It's usable. Let's leave it at that. Now, when it comes to the actual upgrades that I got this headset for, which is the display and the lenses, of course, this has a dual LCD 2448 by 2448 per eye, and a 120 degrees field of view. It does use the same exact Fernenzo lenses, and some of the things that people talk about with this that I wanted to mention here is that there are people who say that, due to the square shape of these lenses, that you lose some vertical view, but you gain horizontal. Now for me, I had the Index side by side. I didn't seem like I lost any vertical field of view. I thought it was pretty much exactly the same as what I was getting from the actual Valve Index headset. But I did get a larger horizontal field of view on this headset than I did with the Valve Index, which is awesome. I got like 7 or 8 more degrees on here. definitely noticeable as soon as I got in there, and I was really happy about that. Of course, it still has the same glare and God rays that the every other Fresnel Lenzo headset has. It's no better or worse than what I found to have on the Index. Something else also is the small sweet spot that's on here. Now, the sweet spot on this headset is not as large as what the Valve Index is, so it's going to take you a day or two to be able to get it. The way I recommend getting it, that I found it pretty easily, is take the headset, put it on your head, and put it so you're looking through the lenses and put it close to your face without adjusting anything. Put the lenses right on your eyes so you're looking at it really clear, and you see the text really clear. Then adjust the back strap and then adjust the top strap as you need, and that should make it easy to find the actual sweet spot. Once I did that, now finding the sweet spot every time I get into the headset is really easy. So make sure you adjust that correctly, or you're not going to find the great resolution. So just know that it's not as easy to find as it is on the Valve Index, but it's not that bad. Once you dial it in, you'll be good to go. Now, another thing I want to talk about is the cover that came on this thing. The facial cover that came on this thing is terrible. I immediately replaced it as soon as it came out. And I replaced it with a new cover. I'll have the link down in the description below. That came with either a 6mm, 10mm, or 12mm facial pad. I tried the 6mm because obviously the smaller the better, because you can get closer to the lenses, have a higher FOV, but I just couldn't do it, guys. It hurt my head and my face after getting it close in there because I could feel the plastic of the actual headset. So I put the 10mm on there, and that was the sweet spot. I was comfortable again, and I could still have a great field of view. I think that's probably going to be the best option for a lot of people out there, is using a 10mm cushion. Now, as far as on the PC that you're going to have to use, you are going to have to use a Vive console application. It's a small app that gets installed on your PC that works alongside SteamVR. Of course, this is a SteamVR headset. So as soon as you open SteamVR, it immediately launches the Vive console app. No issues at all. It has some settings in there you can mess with, like changing the resolution and stuff. And of course, the last thing we got to talk about here is the actual gameplay on this thing. So I have been running a 3080 90 hertz on this thing with every game I could throw at it, and it has been a fantastic experience on this headset. The resolution combined, the higher resolution compared to the Valve Index, which is very, very noticeable, compared to the better contrast and better colors, that's easily noticeable compared to the Valve Index as well, makes this game really pop on the display, and it makes the game feel kind of new almost, like playing Half-Life Alyx and Boneworks and stuff. Almost has an entire new look of how much better everything looks with the colors, the contrast, and the higher resolution on this headset. It looks fantastic, and definitely noticeable on how much better it could look. It does look compared to the Valve Index. Again, you could also run this at 120 Hz if you want to, but you're going to have to dial back the resolution. You're not going to be able to run this at 5K on a 3080 or even probably a 3090 on some of these more demanding games. Of course, if you want to run Beat Saber at 120 Hz on this headset, you'll be able to run some of those games because they're not as demanding at the 120 Hz for the most part. But for the higher demanding games, you're obviously not going to be able to. So for me, I don't have any issue running everything at 90 Hz, so I just keep everything at 90 and run everything mostly at 100% resolution, and haven't had major issues with a 3080. But you are going to need a very beefy graphics card to be able to run these. Alright guys, and that is an overview of everything about the Vive Pro 2. Obviously, as you guys heard in the overview of the video here, I did sell my Valve Index, so obviously that means I must select this headset over the Valve Index. But there are some caveats that you guys need to know about, and you have to make that decision for yourself. So like I said, the Vive Pro 2 does have better colors, better contrast, and a better resolution that's very noticeable and much better than what the Valve Index is. If you have them side by side, you're going to immediately notice that difference. But the Valve Index does have the better speaker quality if you value the speakers, and it does have a better microphone. So if you value both of those things, then obviously you're not going to want to change from the Valve Index because you're going to want to keep that. For me, I value the resolution and contrast and colors over those two things, so I went with the Vive Pro 2. The speakers are not that bad. Not as good, but they're not that bad. And the microphone, again, is not that good, but when you add that little pop filter, it's fine. And no one online is going to be like, oh, your headset sounds like garbage now. It's not as good, but it's good enough, I guess. And you guys can see that in the gameplay I recorded in the previous video yesterday. Something else I will say, too, is the Valve Index I did find to be a little bit more comfortable than I did this headset. I like the way that the Valve Index fits on my head. It seems to be a little more comfortable, but I do find this headset also to be comfortable, so it's really a mute point for me. I just noticed that it was a little bit more comfortable, but I could still wear this headset for a really long time without any issues. It's just not as comfortable as what the Index is. And finding that sweet spot sometimes makes that a little bit weird as well. But like I said, once you dial it in, you're all set to go from that point. So my recommendation here, so if you have the Valve Index and you want to upgrade, and you have the 2.0 base stations and you have the Valve Index controllers, I'd say do it. If you're obviously okay with those caveats that I gave you before, because I think you're gonna get, if you're okay, if you all you want is a resolution like I did and stuff like that, and the better colors, I think you're gonna get what you're looking for. And for $300 to $400, I think it's worth that cost to be at the cutting edge, because I like being at the cutting edge. It depends if you want to be at cutting edge as well. But selling the Valve Index for me and getting it for about $300 to $400 was worth the cost. Now, if you have the original Vive and you're coming from a Rift, it's 100% worth it, of course, because then you're going to be leagues better in everything. You know, the FOV is going to be better, color, contrast, all that stuff is going to be better. The tracking, you know, everything is going to be better than what you're used to from before. But what I will say, if you're coming from if you were looking for a PC VR headset for the first time, I still think this is the best option you can get if you want to be at the cutting edge. The only problem is that I would not recommend the Vive wands that this thing comes with if you get the full kit. So unfortunately, you're going to have to spend a little bit more and kind of get the headset for $800, and then the Valve Index controller separately, and the base station separately, because the Index controllers are the best thing that you could ever use, and I would not recommend those Vive wands. They're completely out of date. You need to get the Valve Index controllers for sure. So you're going to have to bundle those pieces, and that's obviously going to be more expensive. Then you're approaching over $1,300 for this thing, as opposed to just getting the full kit from the Valve Index. So that just, like I said, it depends on what you value there. When it comes to something like that, the value is easier for me to justify because I had the Valve Index already, and I only paid $300 to $400 after having the Valve Index for a year. But if I had to sit there and compare the Valve Index for $1,000, where I got everything included, or the HTC Vive Pro 2, and separating everything and getting it for over $1,300, I would still do it because I want to be at the cutting edge. But that's something you're going to have to determine at that point, if it's worth the additional cost and if you value that resolution more than anything else. Because remember, the Valve Index is still a perfectly good headset. It's just not as good as what this one is, and you can definitely notice a difference in resolution. But not everything is perfect across each headset either way. We're going to be getting a headset a year from now, whether it be Valve Index 2 or whatever it's going to be called. And obviously, I can't wait for that as well. So I'll be using this for the next year and seeing how that goes in the future. And obviously, I like being at the cutting edge, so I'll be getting whatever comes out new. But hopefully that helps you guys out. For those of you guys who are kind of in the center trying to decide what to do with this headset, I'm having a lot of fun with this headset. I'd recommend it for people who want to upgrade if you're okay with the caveats and can sell your Valve Index if you can. Really, really fun time with this one. It makes the games look much better. Games that I was playing before, like Half-Life Alyx, really take a whole new look on this headset with the better colors and contrast and higher resolution. If you guys have any questions about what you guys heard here today or anything I may have forgotten, leave those questions down below. If not, thank you guys for watching. Until next time.